Hi, Chaitsi. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Thank you. How do you feel this evening?
I'm feeling great, energized, especially after that
Amazing.
video.
Amazing. Thanks to Disha, our social media associate. She is doing a great job, and of course, you've seen it. So I'm glad. Thanks, Disha, for the introduction of the video. So, Chaitsi, I'd like to welcome you to the series of FoundHer that is co-sponsored by Simplified, that we have associated with Simplified. We, as you know, Incubate we are on a mission to impact the number of women in entrepreneurship and champion successful women, uh, specifically ones who have paved their own paths. And in line with this objective, we have started this series in association with Simplified. It is my honor to introduce you as my esteemed guest today, Chaitsi, as a dynamic founder and CEO of Brown Living. You are truly a beacon in the sustainability movement. So, to my audience, Chaitsi is recognized as one of LinkedIn's top 15 green voices, featured among the 100 emerging women leaders by Your Story. Her journey is nothing short but inspiring. Having shared her insights as a direct speaker and with the support and acceleration by Google for Startups India, Chetsi continues to lead with innovation and passion. We're so excited to have you here this evening with us.
Thank you so much for that quick introduction and also for having me. Thank you, Simplified and Incubate, for doing this. I'm so excited to answer
Definitely.
all the questions you have.
Amazing, amazing. So, Chetsi, just give our audience a little brief about Brown Living and how did you come up with the idea and what is the points that drove you to sustainability?
Sure. I think my journey is actually kind of a life story because I feel like everything that I did in my life was pointing me to a direction towards the that aha moment that everyone talks about. It actually led me to create this beautiful startup that we have today. I come from a business family, but I never thought that I'll get into business myself. I always used to say that, I love my 9 to 5 weekends off sort of life. And, here we are today. I was very interested in living cleaner and, eating vegan food. I've traveled across the world through work, through personal travels. I've explored multiple industries, right from FMCG to fashion to ultra luxury premium, brands as well. But I also realized that all of these industries have one thing in common, and that is waste. And personally, when I was changing my journey, I realized that how hard it is. I'm talking 5 years ago, how hard it was for us to live a clean and sustainable life, especially if you're living in urban India, where all FMCG brands, everything is like packed in layers of plastic. And even if it is not, it is shipped to you in a way that it's got like so much waste just surrounded by the product itself. And so I started wondering how what would be a cleaner way, or what would be a waste free way of living in today's times. I sort of went back to some of the old practices that our grandfathers used to have, our grandparents used to teach us, going back to the uptans and going back to some of the age old like recipes of how do we sort of stay closer to nature and stay cleaner, and realize that there are a few ayurvedic and certified brands that still do this, even today. But they're actually getting lost in the whole ecosystem that we have today. So I decided to sort of not be part of the pollution, but create a solution in that sense, and decided
Wow.
to just devote my time to sustainable brands, clean brands, and that's how Brown Living started. And this was 2019 when I quit my full time job in February. And today, I think it's about 4.5 years that I've been into this neck deep, and there's like no regrets at all. I'm really excited to be here.
That's amazing. A big round of applause for you. And we are so grateful that people like you have come forward and want to do so much more for nature, firstly, and then also create a lot more awareness in society about how sustainability is, how we need to move about this entire movement and the kind of phenomena that are occurring because of the kind of waste that we are developing on a daily basis. So thank you so much, Chaitsi, for being the disruptive innovation, for Brown Living to be the disruptive innovation of our time. So, Chaitsi, you've achieved significant recognition, being LinkedIn's top 15 green voices and also a TEDx speaker. So, can you take us a little uh, through the entrepreneurial path that you've had with being a TEDx speaker and also your journey of being the top 15 green voices on LinkedIn?
I'm just gonna answer this with a with an anecdote that my mother used to tell me when I was growing up. Is that you do, and this is a lot from the Bhagavad Gita, that karam karo and fal ki ichha mat karo. So a lot of the recognition is actually a reflection. I never thought that all of this will land in my lap. I never thought that will be even accepted by Google or LinkedIn will feature me, or in any of this. I just think that I always spoke right from the heart, and I always wanted to share a different point of view. So I always either share something that I think really needs to be shared and is not is a different perspective than what everybody is talking about, or I would rather stay silent. So I think I've been very picky with what I speak and what platform I use. And I think LinkedIn has been part of my career through. I think I had a LinkedIn profile when I was still in school, back in 2008. And I just thought that, okay, it was going to be a library of all the things that I'm learning and trying to do. And so I've built it, with a lot of love and care. And over time, through my entire journey of becoming a clean and green enthusiast, I've used LinkedIn as a very important platform. I've also used Instagram, but I think it's a more serious tone that LinkedIn sort of also pushes out. So it was like I was as surprised as you are today, when I read that news, and it was like, oh my god, this is big. And shortly after that, I think I got the TEDx speaker announcement. And before that, a lot of college students would sort of write to me saying, can you do gifts for us for the TEDx talk? And I thought it was one of those things. And so then
Okay.
I forwarded it to somebody on my team, and they're like, no, this is not a gifting request, this is just like for you to speak. And I'm like, okay. I need to prepare for that. So it was very interesting. The whole exercise of doing the TEDx talk was really interesting, because um, you really have to put your entire life's work into 15 minutes. And you have to still make sure that you put the point across. And uh, it was very hard to do that in the first place. But I think I also want to correct you where you said that you're trying to contribute to mother nature. I think one of the things that I also said in my TED talk was, we don't need to save mother earth, the mother earth will survive. We need to elongate our time on this planet, because we need to be
Right,
compatible with the earth. So what we are trying to do as humanity, as a race, is really trying to further our lifestyles, and improve, like be faster, grow more, and in terms of revenue, etc. But we're not looking at what it is doing to the temperatures of the planet. And that
right.
temperature, it's not going to affect the earth as much as it will affect our lifetime on this planet. So that's really the bottom line, that if we need to survive, we need to change our ways, we need to change our behaviors. And that's why the whole lifestyle of brown living, that you need to consume sustainable, you need to eat clean, you need to eat local, reduce your footprints as much as possible.
Awesome, awesome. I'm so not surprised that you were chosen to be one of the 15 voices and also a TEDx speaker. I think you speak beautifully and you have so many valid and intriguing points to give us and to enlighten the audience that it's definitely not a surprise. So, Chachi, on the basis of a branding, on a branding perspective, storytelling can be a bridge between brands and their audiences. So, how do you weave a narrative that only stands out, not only stands out, but also connects with the people and builds a rapport towards your people? How do
Hmm.
you tell them that, okay, fine, this is my brand and the entire love and passion that I put into it? What's the kind of bridging and the storytelling that you come across with?
I think in our case, the this whole concept and this whole lifestyle is very relatable because people who are still living in joint families, people who still have grandparents, or they have seen or spent time with them, they would know that a lot of these practices have been part of our lives for a really long time. um, and that's the segment of people that we typically start talking to, and
Mhm.
that's also because you need to first find your tribe, find your cloud first, and then expand into other audiences. But storytelling, yes, is a very important part because um, especially in sustainability, there is a lot that goes behind creating a product rather than just materials and ingredients and processes. There's the whole philosophy of a brand, like what do they how much do they care about the people they employ, how much do they care about the ingredients and the materials that go into the product, not just for the actual use or effectiveness of the product, but also on the environment. Then there's also the whole philosophy of why is the brand or the product sustainable, what is the whole core promise behind it, right? So a sustainable brand is as authentic as it can get. We've realized and we've evaluated over like 1,500 businesses in the last 4 years on the sustainability metric, and we've realized that brands that have the answers uh, are more sustainable than others, because there will be questions that we will ask them in terms of verification, and they will either say that okay, I don't have the answer, but I know for a fact that I can check it and get back to you, or there will be brands who will just ghost and say that okay, we don't want to associate with you anymore, because maybe those are harder questions where they don't want to sort of spill out the secret sauce, or they don't want to actually know for a fact that they are not sustainable. But the whole point of this whole evaluation process is that not only once you answer those questions will you become aware of what to what degree have you built a great sustainable brand, but also
Right.
give us the opportunity to give recommendations on what can you improve. So there have been brands who've come to us with a certain state of its brand or its packaging, for example, and we've given them recommendations and said that okay, you change this in your packaging, color code it in certain way, or change this material, or change the color of your logo to this to sort of showcase the story better.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
those recommendations have had a much higher impact on not just on their top line but also on their bottom line, right? And I'm saying this purely from experience that storytelling is not just about putting that one video out or putting that ad out. It's actually being consistent with who you are and why you started as a company. So it needs to match with your value statement, it needs to match with why you're doing what you're doing, and it this is not just for sustainable brands as a segment, but it stands for everything. So always
Right.
start with why. Start with the why are you in this market, or why are you addressing this particular problem? What is the core reason behind you selecting this price point or this particular audience segment? And that will really unfold a lot of answers. And storytelling typically just helps you structure that whole bit. And there are many more people who are experts at storytelling better than me, but I would say that you need to start with a problem, solve, give a solution, and also say that hey, this is what you could do with this information. Films have taught us that they've like dove into a three hour film with large social problems, but at the end of it, the person who actually gets affected is also the person who may probably forget that message, three days later or 5 days later. So it's also important not just to tell the story, but also to hammer it in people's minds so that it becomes a habit, right? And habit forming products are, uh, of course, the most profitable ones, but they're also the ones that have the most impact. So we have to find the right balance. We have to find a lot of the psychology related, heuristics of the whole storytelling piece and put it together.
That is so insightful on the entire segment of having brand recalling how, why, what storytelling, how storytelling, design aspects, product design. Oh my God, you have literally collated a lot of the entire branding aspect into just one answer. So thank you so much, Chaitsi, for that. Moving on to my next question, juggling various hats, especially in the areas as demanding as content creation, is no easy feat for a founder specifically. Given that content crafting can be so time intensive, do you leverage the power of an AI platform or stream the process, or how is it that you enhance this entire process that you put out for content creation?
Yeah, I think, since we're talking about AI, I just want to point one thing out, and everybody on this live must watch this film called Coded Bias. It's about AI.
Hmm.
It's on Netflix, and basically that changed the way I thought about AI. So, in one line, if I had to explain, AI is basically, AI feeds on past data, right? And the whole film is
Right.
based on how, if the past data is biased or is skewed to a particular
Hmm.
segment of audience, all your results will be skewed as well. So and that's why they show examples of how, if a company was using AI to screen applications of candidates, right, it was picking white male between a certain age only as yes candidates, right? Because all the data available to that AI was skewed, and it was historically for the last 50 years, showing men who were primarily white, not so black, not so dark. And this is probably, very true in a lot of cases even today, that you need to train the AI. So even in brown living, when
Right.
we start, when we create content, we, uh, before using AI, we actually give it a lot of input. So there are AI tools that allow you to build a brand voice, um, where you feed in your entire website's content first, and then it starts giving you
Hmm.
inputs. Even after using that, let's say I'm using Jasper as a tool to write a video script. Even if it is
Hmm.
giving me a video script, I need to have the right prompt. So I need to talk to it like I'm talking to an agency or giving a creative person a brief. So it needs to be as descriptive as possible. And even after the script comes out, yes, AI is beautiful and it's very fast, but you still need to do your own editing on top of that, so that it's not as generic or as vague, because a lot of times it throws like random vague articles
Right.
from across the globe, right? So you need to make sure that even if you're using AI, you need to still tailor it to your brand tone. You still need to tailor it to the voice of the brand, or the specific detail oriented thing that we do on brown living. So what we use AI for in content creation is specifically only to give us like a wireframe or a structure to a piece of content. And then we
Hmm.
sort of course, add our own layers and add our own sort of frills to it. That's what we've used so far. In terms of the website, I think we've used AI in just improving images to a certain extent. So if somebody sent me like one artisan from some really small town who doesn't have a photographer with them, they will send us
Hmm.
a product in with a clean background. We'll use AI to remove the background and maybe add some
Just
human
to
sort of
beautify
element,
it.
somebody touching the thing or whatever, just to show perspective. But
Okay.
even then, a lot of times, it'll still look like a really terribly photoshopped image. So we'll still, we'll of course have our own evaluation levels and say that, okay, this one's not doing well on AI, let's just do it like on our own, physically. So yeah, it's a great starting point. It gives you a great structure, but you still need to work on your own layers for it to be relevant and original as well.
I completely agree. I've seen a lot of people use AI tools as like they're using a engine optimizer. So they're
Mm,
using it as Google, like tell me some names for my
yeah.
brand, or tell me, give me a tagline that is relevant for this brand. So this is so even for them, this is a very great insight of how is it and why prompts are important, and why is it that you need to actually give a description prior. There has to be a backstory that
Mm,
has to be told to the AI, and then after that, get your answers. So the AI has a perspective to give you.
yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Chaitsi. Uh, my next question is merging sustainability, AI, and entrepreneurship seems to be a golden combination for the future. How do you see these intersecting in the next decade?
This is actually our very, very super confidential project that we're working on. So I'm not going to give you a
Okay.
lot of details about it because it's, of course, upcoming in the next few months. But just to give you a sneak peek, something that, so for the last 5 years, I feel like I've been doing the job of a librarian because the space that I'm working in is hardly like it's really unorganized. And this industry, like the whole eco-friendly, green, organic industry, is not new. It's not come up in the last 2 years, right? It's been there for 20, 25 years. You'll see like a lot of villages will also have a store which has like your ayurvedic or natural sort of ingredients, or you'll find stores which have or companies who've been around for like 30, 40 years who've had green and eco-friendly bags and reusable stuff, right? So this space is not new, but what is new is the way we consume. So a large part of what we do at Brown Living is to do with digitizing all of the offline people, and these people have
Okay.
not been digitized yet because they are still
Mm-hmm.
not your mainstream large brands with large deep pockets, who've had all the intelligent people from large institutions who've sort of joined them to say that, okay, I'm going to take you on Amazon, right? These are
Mm-hmm.
still people who are living in villages, people who are living in tier 3 towns, who consume and who shop from an Amazon or Flipkart, but don't necessarily sell on those platforms for their produce. So it's a very interesting problem to solve, and we've realized that a lot of them struggle with basic stuff, like they don't know what a URL is, or they don't know how to shoot an image with right lighting, or they wouldn't know what is an SEO title. Like there is a lot of training that we
Right.
do with the sellers we work with, and if you talk to them in their own language and you ask them a very specific question about their product, they will have all the answers, and they will say कि ये पर्यावरण के लिए अच्छा नहीं है इसलिए हम ये वाला
Mm-hmm.
dye यूज नहीं करते. But if you ask them the same thing in English, they wouldn't know. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the work that we are doing is literally just picking, curating products and people, and understanding their entire story, and bringing that onto the platform with a perspective of an urban audience in mind. Because uh, only when an urban audience, which is a very big segment of the consumption habits in India,
Right.
only when you bring that product in front of these guys is when these guys will actually start earning livelihoods from this business. You'll see a lot of like artisan led businesses, or there's a lot of research where artisan led businesses are actually the second largest employer in our country after farming.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of their crafts are dying because they don't have the product that today's India needs, or that today's consumer needs. So we are trying to bring all of them together, structure all that data, structure all that insight, um, and of course add a layer of AI and blockchain on top, to disseminate all of this information in a way that everybody can consume across the world. And so there's a lot of groundwork, there's a lot of grassroots level outreach that we do, work with people who don't necessarily speak the languages that you and I speak, and try to take them onto a platform which is open for all, of course the internet, and of course give them other avenues as well. So I would say AI will help us accelerate a lot of this stuff once the data is structured,
Mm-hmm.
and once a lot of the information is stored in a way that the AI can understand. Uh, And that's something that's work in progress with us right now.
That's amazing, Chaitri. There's so much of empowerment that you are actually getting onto this really large, vast digital landscape that we are dealing with on a daily basis. That is so much that you are doing, and wow, you're just inspiring many
Thank you.
people in this audience, definitely. Chaitri, being accelerated by the Google for Startups India is no small feature. What was your most significant takeaway, and that you believe that the entrepreneurs on our field right now will benefit from?
I'm gonna go back to some of the things that I said, right? That keep doing your bit. And when we actually got selected for the accelerator, I thought it was a super big deal, and it is. Um, and what it did for us, the entire team and everybody who was part of it, was that this program was not just for me as a founder; it was for the entire team. So for all the sessions, they had said, okay, anybody from your team, any sort of extended person from your team could join sessions, which meant that all of us were getting access to this world of information that not everybody sitting in the world had, right? And we had access to mentors, developers, new tools that Google was developing, new technologies that were coming up. What that whole 6 month period did for us was it really opened up our minds, and like we sort of went back onto the vision board and saying, okay, this is what we've thought of, how can we make it this big, right? And it really made us think really large scale, in terms of solving problems. And I think we were only looking at India as a market at that time when we had applied, and when we were looking at scaling the business. But a lot of the inputs that we were given from the network of mentors or from the Google team globally actually made us think that this problem is much larger and it needs to be solved at many places across the world. And so how do we solve for that? So the end game for us was to, how do we create something that every rural artisan in the world can use, like as an app or as a technology. And that's what we're now building. And thankfully, I think that everybody who was part of that cohort will say this, that Google, the whole team at Google is like an extended part of our team. So I can pick up the phone and I can tell them, hey, I'm stuck with this issue, can you help me find somebody who can help me solve this? They will not be able to solve it for us, of course, because they have full day jobs, but they will make sure that they'll connect you to the right person who can actually solve that problem for you. And with Google's network, it's really immense and vast. And so I think we've made some really good connections. We've onboarded like a lot of relevant advisors for very very specific things, and it's made us think of technology in a way that we didn't imagine earlier. So I'm really grateful and really excited to sort of really see where this goes.
That's awesome. You actually also took in an aspect of how community works and how it is that we are there to help each other and grow with each other. And in collaboration, we can do a lot more. So
Absolutely.
that's great, Chatsy. I'm so glad that you had such an amazing experience with them. As we wrap up, I would want you to give our entrepreneurs, our the people who are watching, or the people in the professionals, an advice that you think would create sustainability or have a crossroads of creativity, sustainability, and innovative tech.
I would say, always look into the details of whatever you're doing, right? And the devil is always in the details. So whether you are hiring somebody for your team, whether you are trying to do a collaboration with someone, always understand the intent and understand how the whole thing is going to pan out in detail. I learned this in my first job, which was in events, and we would have like detailed 40 paid checklists for an event that is a really simple conference. But I think being detail oriented has really taken us many places. It's given us clearer intents. It's helped understand why we are doing something and where can it lead us. So anybody who's trying to do anything new, whether in sustainability or otherwise. Always ask questions. Please don't hesitate to ask questions, because those questions will lead to answers, which will lead to more questions, and that will give you the answer of what you're looking for. I might be very vague right now, but if you are in that mindset, you will probably get it. So yeah, just keep asking, stay curious, and always ask questions.
That's amazing. That is really good insights. And I want to also, I will keep this with me. The devil is in the details. I'm seriously going to keep that in mind. And I'm sure my audience has had a great time listening to you, Chachi. Thank you so much for taking out time and being with us on
Thank you
this
so much
live.
for having me.
Thank you so much, Simplified, for being associated with NQB for this founder series. And for my audience, I have a little takeaway for you. Simplified has offered a 50% discount on your annual plan. So please make use of it. It's an amazing application for designs and gives you so much more with AI as well. And having a description and whatever Chaitsi has told you, knowing how to use the prompts, it will give you much more. So definitely use that, and the code is in the comments, so you can check that out as well. Thanks once again, Chaitsi, for being with us. We had an amazing conversation and some great insights. So glad
Thank
that you could come on board.
thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.